Hello, everybody. I'm just preparing now to welcome Sifu Boggie of Taoist Life Coaching, Qigong Fitness, Health Healing, Key Work, and all that sort of stuff. And we'll see if we can come up with some very practical, no nonsense, shoot from the hip, straightforward, simple techniques to keep us centered and grounded. So, ancient ways for modern times. I'll see if he's about. Aha, I think he's lurking in the background. So I'll press this button. Aha!
Hello.
Sifu Boggie, good evening. And how the devil are you?
I'm okay, and the devil's all right himself.
Yes. It's Confucius is reputed to have said, "May you live in interesting times."
It was technically Lao Tzu.
Oh, okay.
Confucius got the praise for a lot of them. It was actually Lao Tzu, but whoever they were right.
Well, they were, because they are very interesting times, are they not? I've had a very strange day today. I was high as a kite until about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and then kapow! Right, I hit the floor with a bump, and I don't really bother too much about what's causing it and whether it's this, that, and the other. I just try and get back into the center and sit there and breathe through it, And I'm not bothered so much about working stuff out now or what's causing it. Mostly I'm just interested in trying to stay in the middle of myself.
Yeah, For me, my translation of that is you're Tao.
Yeah.
You're because the whole thing of the word Tao just means your personal balance. So every if whether you're atheist, Christian, Buddhist, whatever, I've met lots of Taoists who were, oh, you're a Taoist, but I'm this. Well, you're still a Taoist because it's about that and that, like you say about not working it out. It doesn't fucking, pardon my French, but it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. There is no good. It's like that saying I've said for so long, and now it's an interesting time when I can say there is no good or bad, there just is, and I no longer get stoned. And I don't mean high as a kite. Something's happening because that used to trigger so many people. Oh, what about Hitler? What about this? And it's like now it doesn't trigger because we're starting to see it. You're starting to realise that it's that in one way or another, all of this is an illusion. All of this is just stuff, and if you react to it, it will affect you.
Couldn't agree more. I see it exactly the same way. I feel it the same way. Mind you, it's taken a few years of practice to sort of get to this relatively calm state, because I feel emotionally calm and I feel clear-minded, really. And I've slowed down a lot, or should I say my thinking, it's probably quickened up, but my actions are much slower, So that's it. It's think quick, act slow,
Yeah. Sham Shong. Stand like a stake or standing tree. The slower you move on the outside, the more you move on the inside, But not in a 10,000 thoughts at the front of your brain sort of thinking, but everything. If anything, it reminds me of I once watched the cartoon movie Over the Hedge, and there was the squirrel. And the squirrel, they said, don't give the squirrel, like Red Bull. Don't give the squirrel Red Bull. Whatever happens, don't give him. And then they said, we've got to give him Red Bull, because only he can, perform. And he drinks the stuff, and then suddenly everything's like almost stopped, and he's going, he's suddenly seeing life at a slow pace for once, even though he's going super, super fast. And it's that thing that I've had that where everything seems to be slowing down. Everything seems, and people said, "Oh, you think so fast?" And said, "I really don't," but apparently it's because dimensionally or virtually or Taoistically, everything's slowing down for me, but I'm speeding up to the rest of the world.
No, I understand that totally, and that's why some people who've got autism are treated with Ritalin, right? Because it sort of rebalances and corresponds to their brainwave length, and stuff like that. And go on then.
I was given it as a kid for being hyperactive. They back in the 80s, they gave Ritalin they gave Ritalin to me for hyperactivity, because don't forget dyslexia didn't come out until 1985, 1986, and that was the UK. It wasn't recognised in the States until 1985. I don't think it was recognised in the UK until at least 90s.
I have dyslexia, I have dyscalculia, and I have dyspraxia. I have those three things. And I was clumsy as a child, and the people around me, especially my mum, would say, "Come on, you stupid child," and it would make me worse, right?
Yeah.
And it takes me time to work things through. And it's not because I'm a slow thinker. It's because actually I think from a different place than a lot of people, you see. And so I was slow at school, and since I have learned about mindfulness and stuff like that, I accept myself, because it takes me some time to emerge to sort of the normal level of consciousness. And I'm not being funny now. This is what I've learned about myself, that it would take me some time to come from the depths of my thinking, which was actually at a higher vibrational rate, to come down or to move up to. I mean, my feelings would move up and my thinking would slow down, so that I could sort of correspond my thinking and act like a normal person, But so that's where I'm up to now. I haven't felt one jolt or jot of fear or anxiety or anguish or anything at all regarding the state of the world, No. And to me, Sifu, that's a bloody miracle, because all my life, right, I've been frightened, I've been sensitive, and I've been worried about the future. My life was always filled with anxiety. It was I was either frustrated about what happened in the past, or anxious about what might be coming up in the future. I was never in this place, this momentary now place, which is basically, it's a virtual sort of middle pillar to me now. To me, now is vertical. And the other one, the horizontal line, is really to do with it's a longitudinal from 0 years to death, so it's past and future. So there's a place now that I can drop into, and it's not by effort, it's actually by letting go of all effort, that I seem to come to this place of peace and calm and tranquility, and I feel okay. What have you got to say about that?
Yes.
You could have said, for the laugh, you could have said, "No, I'm not having that."
No, total utter horlicks.
Yeah,
don't believe you. Don't rubbish. But no, yeah. I mean, if anything, it's for me, it's really interesting in the essence of, especially this quarantine that we're all in. People are starting to, have to face their own realities, to face their, their families, and that's both good and bad, and it's like like this chaos and calmness all in one thing, and I love the thing. A lot of what my teacher said have always sort of, come up, being sort of, that's what they mean. That's what they meant. It's been even more now, is that, and what I'm meaning is that, my Sifu says, and I think Lao Tzu also said it, is that, every adult, there is a child inside, the whole inner child, and you're supposed to embrace that inner child. Now, sometimes we see the inner child as the wounded child, but there's the not wounded child as well, who's actually buried around, the not wounded child is buried around the wounded child. But we, especially in the UK, we were told, now you're not allowed to go out, only for exercise, and everybody's desperate to do. There's about 5 times more people running now than I've ever seen. You know, I'm out all different times, and suddenly, there's all these people running, and it's like you're like freaking naughty children. You know, the parents says you can't go out. So, I'm going to go. I'm going out for exercise. Yes. Yeah. And it's like, I find it highly amusing. I mean, some of them could have been that used to be they were in gyms and now they're running, but it does seem an awful lot of people. It's almost like Christmas every day because now like the parks are busy all the time. And it's that funny thing is we've been restricted. And yet we see in some ways we're disconnected from society, and yet we're forced more into at least smaller groups as well. And in a way, I always want to say, welcome to my world, is that they're actually facing their own, they have to face things, and it's, bringing up, you hear a lot of people say that, the fear and the anxiety and the worry, and it's like, you're finally facing it. And I will say for a personal thing, is that all my fellow Qigong and Tai Chi Sifus who absolutely obtested online stuff and said never going to do online stuff, they're now having to, and it's like you should be careful what you wish for, it's and it's interesting how you and I in the UK, and I remember this back in the 90s. The recession, when there was a recession, certain people flourished because I used to be a baker back in the 90s. We were busy all the freaking time because everybody wanted chocolate cakes and sweets and whatnot. And it's like now, it's like certain things are flourishing. And that's the thing with the Dow is where there's a down, there's always an up. That where some things will diminish, other things will strengthen. And it's this back to that, there is no good or bad, it just is. It's just understanding it's all interwoven. But
go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, as any good Taoist should say, what do I know?
Exactly. And I feel that I don't need to know anymore. I'm not really bothered. I mean, I listen to the news. I listen to the sort of news that's under the radar. I listen to all these so-called conspiracy theories and stuff. It's interesting to me, but I'm not bothered about it really. The only thing I'm interested in is staying calm on the inside and thinking from that place really. Or if you like, I mean, that what I would call my soul or my spirit is being, if I don't really feel motivated by anything outside of myself anymore. It's not that my motivation's gone. It just seems to be moving me from a different place these days, And so I just say to my soul or to my heart or to my spirit, I say, just give us a clue. If you want me to do anything, give us a shove. If not, I'm just going out to play for a while, And I have felt like a child. The last 3 days, my wife and I have been running together. We live very close to a sort of, it's called the Wirral Way. It's a beautiful sort of track through the countryside. And we live very close to there. So we've been going along there, having a bit of a trot, having a bit of a walk and looking at the birds and the squirrels and stuff. And it's been like, it reminded me of when I was a little child. It reminded me before I was clobbered by all this societal conditioning, and you've got to do this and you've got to do that. And if you want to be successful, you've got to make money because money brings with it, you can buy good things and you'll be happy and all that. I've not found that myself. And I've been fortunate in the past to have loads of money and it never brought me happiness, So it's almost as if this is a great big cosmic setup to bring people to a point where they get to realize what their true priorities are. And mine are my health and well-being first and foremost, because without that, I don't feel that I've got anything. And the next thing is the love and the closeness of those people around me, and that's where I'm up to.
When I was, let's say, back in the 90s, I did close because of my teachers. Sort of going backward just a little bit, what you were saying about I was actually only 10 years ago now, I was actually diagnosed with dyslexia, dyspraxia, a slight touch of autism as well, and the autistic spectrum, and like half of my students have been dyslexic, dyspraxia, and I always said, Boggie, it's blooming obvious that you're definitely dyslexic at least, and it's ironic. My Sifus were very much people with dyslexia, dyspraxia, the autistic spectrum, they looked for them. They desperately searched for them because they were out the box thinkers. They were my Sifu saw them as students with interesting skills, with interesting abilities. Even the Virgin owner, Branson, he was known, even though officially you weren't supposed to, but he was known to look for people who were dyslexic and dyspraxic because they made good thinkers for business. And so so there's that alternative, thinking outside the box. But we've all have that ability when we were kids, and this is the biggest thing. One of the things, re-education, is I really think that people should be careful, like you're saying, be careful, how you speak in front of children. No, you really should be careful what you're saying in front of children. When children, because my ex-partner, and me always said, when Ketra was talking to, they're not imaginary friends. That spirit, whatever you want to call it, that's the universe, that she's seeing. And then when I started working with certain agencies, both in our country and out, because of my teachers, they worked with different agencies, they worked with diplomatic circles. And when I had a CIA guy say, yeah, we know there's 14 dimensions that exist, other realities with life in them, and yet, yes, because I joked, I said, so when are you going to admit about the unicorns, the fairies, and Bigfoot? And they said yes. And this guy was always serious, and he said, we already know they exist, and there's different places on Earth, where you can see them easily. And I went, okay, Boggie, we'll shut up now. Yeah, but is when you've got people. I grew up knowing this sort of information. I grew up knowing that FT100 and 500 index businesses used, psychics used, remote viewers used, and that was just businesses, no like the government. But when you start seeing this magic exists, do you really want to, do you really, your child's potential, do you really want to close down? Do you really want, kids are amazing. Kids are our own Sifus, and they're learning. So, we need to firstly, let our kids' magic grow, but also we're still kids. We still have that. And as I said, especially we got told, you're only allowed to go out for exercise. Everybody suddenly wants to go running again. We're big kids ourselves. Let yourself play. Stop taking life so freaking seriously, and learn to play. Now, you said about the money thing. It was an interesting thing doing the close protection. I looked after people who were billionaires, not millionaires, billionaires. And it's that old saying is true. I've seen people super, super rich. Were they any happier? No, not really. Most of the time they were so busy, they had money. The more money you have, yes, money can buy certain things, but it also encourages more problems. Yeah. You have more problems the more money you have. And that's or you have different problems as well. So that that's the whole point, is that whether you're at this level, whether you're at that level of money, or you're at that level of money, there'll always be other things you have to deal with. There'll always be, and that's the point, is that life will always have your ups and your downs. Your point, as you said, find your middle ground, find your Tao. Your Tao. Tao isn't a Tao just means balance. Find your own personal balance, guys. Find your balance and seek, and wherever you are in the whole thing of goals. The whole thing of goals is that when you reach a goal, you need a new goal, because otherwise the emptiness, the void starts appearing again, and you need a new goal. So the actual thing is, it's not, what do they say? It's not the destination, it's the journey. It's the getting that where. It's having fun along the way, enjoying life. I've got lots of different stuff I want to do, but it shouldn't mean that I stop enjoying now while I'm getting there. And it's, I've seen too many people waiting for their pension, too many people waiting for, oh, when I have this will happen, and their life fleets away. And I think right now is forcing everybody to look at the now. It's closing you off. You can't run around like a headless chicken or run around on your little wheel doing the stuff you normally do. You're forced indoors, or you're forced at home. And if you're bored, go and learn a musical instrument, learn a new language, learn the thing that you always said you were going to do when you get chance. You got chance.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. You know what I found out about myself, though? I couldn't change my thinking by putting new thinking in there. That's what I tried to do all my life. Is I tried to read thousands and thousands and thousands of books to get some idea on how I could change the way that I felt. And now I realize is that in order to feel better, I just have to disconnect myself from my thinking, almost throw my head away, because my head is jam-packed with memories and also information that's come from outside of myself, and so really it's not about taking anything on board, it's about jettisoning the whole lot, and I realize now that I was living my life until I sort of saw the light, if you like, for want of better expression. I was living everybody else's life except myself, my own life, and that's what's happened to me. The more I let go of the old ideas, emotions and attitudes, right, that I thought were mine but really were something from outside of myself, the more free I've become. I was just looking at myself there. I was thinking, you look like a right miserable bastard, Joe. But on the inside, I feel great. People say to me, smile, it might never happen. Well, it has happened, right? I'm very happy, right? Keep your social distance away from me. Otherwise, I'll knock your block off, But I'm quite happy, really. In fact, I feel so comfortable, so clear-minded and so joyful on the inside. That's what it's all about to me. And I, like you, I'm very, very exquisitively sensitive to energies all around me. And I feel influences coming in energetic forms all the time. Now, before, I would be distracted by those or influenced by those or even forced by those to think in a different way other than my own. But now I don't, So whether that's part of waking up and growing up at the same time, that's what seems to be happening to me. I'll just get this point across here. So if anybody's listening and they're trying to look for answers from the external, my experience shows me is that what you're looking for really is basically in your heart of hearts. And this is what all the love songs have said, all the wise songs, all the keep it simple. What you're looking for is about 6 inches from the tip of your nose to your heart, And I feel that it's not the heart itself, it's the heart of hearts. There's like a gate in the center of your heart that opens you up to immortality, eternity, and the wisdom of the universe. I feel like one of them, the sage guru types tonight, and that's because of your influence. So there we are, heart of hearts.
Well, in the Mayan, so in the Mayan, Melchizedek, Dundalo Melchizedek talks about it, and he said the similar thing in the Taoist. They talk about the sacred place in the heart and the secret place in the heart. Right. And the sacred place, when you hear, that whole thing of the temple within, it's about treasuring yourself. It's treasuring that internal place, and inside there is a secret place. There's almost like a void, a quietness, and that's for the cloud whisperers, which is in Hawaii, the Ho'opono Ono O, or Ho'opono Ono 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 O. Well, there might be another 24 Onos. I never quite remember.
Oh no.
But yeah. Oh no. And that's part of the Huna. It's actually part of a system called Huna. But it's one little part. But they, like the Cloud Whisperers, talk about your inner reality actually affects the outer reality. And in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, they talk about this as well. Is that when you start realizing, the key is when you start realizing how you're really feeling and Lipton, not the tea, the doctor, Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza. You know me. You know, they also talk about the internal stuff. Is that how you feel actually affects your health. It affects your reality. It affects the consciousness. So it's, you know, this is a really important thing. And our society, let's say society, our society tries to get us focusing up here in the forebrain. The forebrain is actually known as monkey mind. If you think of the angel and the devil, it's the devil, but it's not really the devil, because if you remember the cartoons like Porky Pig, and Porky Pig was the devil and he was the angel, and well, it's the same. You know, that devil side is actually you. It's a representation of you, you know, and it, you know, and it's a representation of the outer universe as well, but the inner and outer are all the same. But that feeling, whenever you're feeling, that starts to affect everything else. And it's going back, you know, it's going back to that feeling. And what was else we going to say? I can't remember. There was something else you said, which was really, I wanted to pick up on, but I can't remember.
To pick up on what you've just said there is, in Victorian times, I mean, Victorian times, they were very, very right-hand dominant. And if you were left-handed, and left-handed in Latin is sinister, you know, and sinister means evil in English, but sinister simply means left-handed, you know. And they would tie people's left hands behind their back and get them to write with their right hand, which is associated with the left brain, which is the linear, logical, very particulate, very, 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 very restrained, you know. And I think that was a way of controlling the masses, if you like, you know. And there were people who were outside of the box, who were the left-handed ones, right, who thought from a completely different place. And this freaked them out because it went against the Victorian standard of one step at a time in line with what we tell you. See, I'm on one tonight. I mean, you know, and I think what actually happened is now we've been allowed to have both of our hands released now so that we can balance out. Just to go back to the kahunas and the Hawaiian traditions, the kahunas, they believe in the three selves, a bit like Jing Chi Shen or Shen Shen, you know, so the three selves, but they believe that the balance comes from outside of those three selves. So you have to really be in touch with the cosmos and let go in order for the balance to happen almost automatically, really. And I think what we get wrong in the West is we think that we need to, oh, look, I'm judging this as this is bad. I must change my thinking to this is good now. So we're always in this duality, polarity. The idea is to let go of the judgment, isn't it? It's just to say, I don't really know. I'm going to let go and allow my heart to show me the truth and the answer.
Well, right, there's a couple of things there, but firstly, it's like this symbol here. Everybody says yin yang. Yin yang is half a black circle and half a white circle, and yin yang means opposing opposites, which is what we created. Tai Chi, its actual name is that should actually be rotating, moving, and it's constantly going from divine masculine to divine feminine, divine feminine, divine masculine, and there's a silver mist. So that line, that wavy line, is a silver mist, and that's the sacred child, the playfulness. We're meant to be in this balance, but we are things are good or bad. And like I said earlier, you know, that whole thing of there is no good or bad, there just is. And you could tell when people in yin yang, because they would be very triggered by that saying. And it's, you know, it's understanding that, you know, things are more flowy. Now, the interesting thing that my father, he's I think so, so like he's 70, so he would have been, I think, the 50s. So he was growing up in the 50s. He was a lefty, and they forced him to use his like right hand. Now, the interesting thing in China is that I've only got imagine a book. Is that in China, the books are the back of the book. You read the right hand side first, and you read down in columns, and it's right to left, not left to right. And they're very left brain thinkers. In fact, even their words. Each word means literally not. Sometimes means five things. Each word means between 3 and 5 things. So the reason why, like the Tao Te Ching, which is the the book of the way, is that the reason there's over 26 different versions of that book is because there's literally 26 different ways you can translate the information. But the point of that is it allows you to think in a far more flowing way, and a far more, so you have one word that means 5 things, then you put 2 words together and it's what it reduces how many things it can mean. Put another word together, it reduces it a little bit more. But the whole idea is it's more fluid. The information is more fluid, rather than our education, like you said, the Victorian is very industrial, and the whole point of the industrial learning was to ensure that you didn't chop your fingers off with the machinery, and you could obey simple instructions. And our education hasn't changed pretty much from that. And I always find this funny in the essence of we always talk about the Western scholar. Plato being the what the modern for the modern society is. Plato's way of thinking is modern society. Way Plato taught, you were sat in a circle. The teacher would be sitting in the circle as well, and somebody or the teacher would say, what do you know of Tai Chi? And everybody says what they know of Tai Chi, and then somebody goes, did you know this about Tai Chi? And they slowly brought that information round, gathering like a snowball new information. And so things learn in a gradual way, rather than the teacher at the front, the kids, teacher at the front, and the teacher saying, read the board or listen to what I say and write down. And the problem with that education, especially for me, that was rubbish for me. Yeah. And people say, oh, Paul Brighton's not very clever. He'll never do very well. As soon as I left school, I did Open University. Back then, it was all written. You had to send it off to like
a tutor.
Yeah, the tutor. Thank you. I forgot the word. The tutor, and you either got a phone call, or you went down there, and I studied. I studied the difference between Eastern and Western military concepts. I studied Eastern philosophy, and did like a masters for those two, and I did all this stuff, and then oh my god, oh god, he's almost a genius, and it's like, well, we'll go that far, but it's because I started learning how I learn, because I learned how I learned from like not Buzz Aldrin, Tony Buzzin, and people like that, the advanced learning techniques.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing was, when I was a kid, back in the 80s, I naturally did spider diagrams. You draw a circle, so Tai Chi, draw a circle, and then draw a little line off, and Tai Chi's an exercise, it's a martial art, it's a meditation. Tai Chi, there's many different styles, and you draw these little lines off and these little bubbles. And I did that naturally. I got detention for that at school because my teachers saw that as graffiti. Yeah. I was graffiti, and I kept saying, but I'm that's how my brain thinks, that's how I work. Well, your brain's wrong then, Brighton. And the funny thing is, now when I started teaching in private schools, like 8 years later, private schools taught like that. It's like, hold up, I thought my freaking brain was wrong. It's not that freaking wrong. If these private schools, like Box Hill Private School in London, where they're charging £35,000 a term, and these people were learning, spider diagrams, and they're learning the ways that work for me brilliantly. So it's interesting that there's more than, sorry Nancy, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Nancy's a cat lover, so but no cats were hurt in this metaphor. But there's more than one way to do stuff, and that's the biggest thing. If you can't do it one way, stop trying to do it one way. Do it another way. Find a different way. There's no rules, just the rules you make. Sorry.
I have a sort of a technique, or it's called the IAM approach to health and well-being, and it's what's called a strength-based approach. And it really helps people to get right back to the core of who they are, and to allow their innate abilities to come to the fore. So rather than they work with what's strong in them, not what's wrong with them. And in this country, what we tend to do is we tend to disregard all the good stuff that they're naturally capable of, and we focus on what's called the deficits or the defects. And we get them to try and work on what they're not strong with, and it saps them of all energy, all creativity, just to get them to fit into some English and mathematics, some literacy and numeracy standard that's being driven down from governmental levels all the way through the academic sort of cycle. It's heartbreaking because I see loads and loads of small kids now who are as miserable as sin. They can't play out because they've got their homework to do. It breaks my heart to see this. Fortunately, my children and my grandkids, they are free spirited, and I encourage them in that. I don't encourage them to push them in certain directions because I don't know what their directions are. But in Tibet and in those Oriental countries, what they used to do, as you well know, right, they used to watch the child as if it was a seed, and they would allow it to grow in its own naturalness, and then they would direct it then to the resources that would fit the child, and not the child to fit the resources, you see. And I can see, Boggie, I can see that the opportunity we've got now to meet online with hundreds and hundreds of people and to construct a new way of life, right? This could be the start of the creation of something really beautiful in line with the individual soul's frequency. I was just coming on tonight to maybe give a few practical tips on physical techniques to help people, but obviously this is meant to come out. This is a great opportunity because some people believe that we're being socially isolated and we can only meet in twos, so that we can't gather together just to discuss how terrible the state of the world is and how we can put it right. And what seems to be backfiring is that people like ourselves are now meeting with dozens and dozens and hundreds of people to try and construct and create a world from this, And I feel very, very excited and very enthusiastic and very positive about this. Now, whether I'll get into trouble for saying this, I don't really care, because I know that there are thousands and thousands of people who are waking up every day and seeing the same sort of thing. What do you think about that then?
Oh no, yeah, 100%. I think, in the 60s and in the past, there was revolution in certain ways, or we try to do revolution through fighting or doing nothing but in a certain way, like with the hippie revolution. You need action, but you need action in a certain way. You need you want to change things. Don't keep talking about what you don't want. Focus. And we were talking about the Ho'oponopono and being in the heart. Focus on what you do want. Focus on the things. I love. In America, especially, I've seen it a little bit in England. The guerrilla gardening. Where people just going. There's There's no free. The food is certain people are struggling. I know. I'll plant food on this barren bit of land, and it's just growing there, and that's the point. Let's do things. Let's do things. And like I say, I'm not saying. I'm a great one for don't break the law, just bend the rules. Yeah. Bend the rules, just don't break the law. And ice rinks, I actually was an ice steward as well, but in ice rinks, I was a pain in the butt for most ice stewards and management, because I always bent the rules. I always knew how to. As a baker, there was one person that would always say, when we do these hygiene tests, you know all the rules, but you never follow them. And say, if you want to break the rules, you have to know the rules, dear boss. And it's and it's knowledge is power, but not knowledge is only power when it becomes wisdom, and I couldn't
agree more. It only becomes wisdom through action and reflection on the action, doesn't it?
Yeah. I know I know your background, but I always had an issue, not you, because you go from the heart. But I've always had my issue with certain scholars, especially if they called themselves, oh, I'm a scholar of this, because they seem to have all this knowledge, did frick all with it. Or it was a very interesting learning Taoism from the Western point of view, because they would say, oh, Taoism, it has no, it's empty, it has no understanding. And so, well, or you're just taking all the words, you're not doing Qigong, you're not doing the energy work that goes with it. You're not it's like having a cardboard cut out of a cake and not having the inside of a cake, and then wondering why it tastes like cardboard, because it's the cardboard cutout, you plonker. You're not eating the actual cake, and it's we sooner or later, Boggie's going to drop the hammer. But the whole idea, it's and life, knowledge is to be lived, is to be loved, it's to be nurtured, it's to be understood. Just knowing how to play a guitar is not enough. You have play the freaking guitar, learn to play the guitar, feel the music, feel the notes, feel that vibration going through you. Listening to a record is cool. Listening to a live band is awesome, because you feel the energy, you're there, you're feeling that noise, that it's not just a recorded record. So it's living is the important thing in all of this. In knowledge, is that taking that knowledge and doing something about it. Talking about the problems we have does frick all. Frick, I said frick, I didn't say it. Frick.
You did, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm just to certain people that tell me off, if because they think I'm swearing. Boggie makes his own swear words up, just so you know that. But without actually, it's all very well knowing what the problem is. Doing something about it is the important thing. It's all, otherwise, don't expect other people to do it for you. Don't expect the government to do it for you. Don't expect somebody else. Try to do it. Even if you can't make a cake well, practice helps. Or doing the best you can is a child. Where a child paints and it says, and it's very hard not to say to a child, what is it? Say, oh, what have you made there? And it's the Mona Lisa. Okay, it's 3 blobs and a triangle, but okay. But it's whatever it is. It's whatever people want it to be. That's the whole point. There was that other thing. Was that interesting thing of like, you want things to happen, like I'm building up a business, and people always said, oh, Boggie, you've got to learn to do this yourself, and you've got to learn to do that. So why do I have to waste my time on something that I'm not good at, when I can find somebody who can do it and really enjoys doing that, and let them do it, and then I can put my time in to other stuff. And there's actually a society, not just Star Trek, but there's an actual society called Ubuntu, the African, where the society, they all donate a certain period of time to do certain chores in the society, and then the rest of their time is theirs, and the society works that way, and it's this whole thing. You want to create something, tell the world, find people who also want to create it. What part of that are you good at? What part of you are you good at? And get those people together, and then come as a unity, and come together and do your individual parts as a whole and make that thing happen. Don't go by the old rules. What did Einstein say? You can't solve the world's problems by the same thought process that created them to begin with. Change the freaking rules. Think in a different way. But we're now about collective consciousness. Let's get everybody together, find the people that can do all the little things that you need to do, and then do it as a whole. But hey, what do I know?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, what I encourage people to do is, yes, there are so-called problems, or John Lennon said there's no such thing as problems, only solutions. And I encourage people to come along with the difficulties, but also the solutions they come to. So they have to reflect, and they have to try and come with at least some solution that's caused them to think a little bit deeper. And like Bruce Lee said, don't think, feel. And that's become, they call me Dr. Effin Joe in some circles, so I understand that freaking thing that you talk about. But this feeling, I'm writing a book. It will come out one day when the time is right. It's called the F off approach to health and happiness. And F off stands for focus on feelings first. That's F off, you know. And that's what I've learned is I would try and plow all my thinking into solving problems. And I was shown, Joe, there's something much deeper within you that will guide you through this. And it becomes what's called effortless effort, you know, Wu Wei. And, you know, and I, like you know, I've studied lots of esoteric traditions for a long time. And something that I've been really heavily into is Mantak Chia's teachings, you know, and they're the Taoist teachings, you know, and all about energy techniques and 5-minute solution practice, 5 minutes. But one thing that I've come across is we hold negative emotions in our solar plexus, and how to clean the solar plexus. And there are very, very simple techniques in order to do this. Have you got any tricks or techniques or anything at all that might help people to open up their solar plexus and let the sun shine through?
Rub the hands. Place your hands. So belly button. So your solar plexus is just underneath your ribs, and then your belly button's down here. So you rub your hands. Place your most dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, place your right hand on top, your less dominant hand underneath, and go clockwise. No, sorry, go anti-clockwise. So if you're looking at it, you're going anti-clockwise on your tummy, round. So underneath the ribs, all the way to the belly button, and up again over the underneath the ribs where the solar plexus is, down to the belly button, and just rubbing in a nice big circle. So we go anti-clockwise if you're looking. So if you look at your own hands, you're going anti-clockwise. That because that's the direction your colon goes and your stomach. And then just gently tap all the way around your belly for a period of time, and then you can circle again. Now, Taoists, they love numbers, so they would normally go, say, 36, 108 is a good one. So they do 108 circles, 108 of hitting their belly, you know, a little bit like Tarzan, but you're a bit of a lazy Tarzan because you can't get up to your chest. You can only do your belly. So do 108 and then circle the belly again. And this helps dislodge. So the solar plexus is said to be is said to be the emotional brain, you know, is the nexus, the plexus, the sun. Now, you know, later on, also they know that there's actual brain cells within those that nexus of nerves, as well as they then found, you know, also brain cells in the heart as well. So working at least on that area, you can release that and let it go. The other one that I've practiced, there's 3 exercises I've done for the last 38 years. I do every single day. Twist the waist. Just look me up, Sifu Boggie on YouTube, or there is actually Sifu Boggie on Facebook as well. And twist the waist is one, or just ask for a 20-minute one-to-one with me. I'll give you twist the waist. In China, it was known as a 10,000 gold piece exercise, meaning that the Yellow Emperor of 10,000 years ago would give 10,000 gold pieces, so like £1 billion today, for certain exercises because they were so valuable. That's one of them. But you know, it is such an important exercise. So it's just like a toddler going, you know, I don't want to go to school, I'm bored. Turning your waist from side to side, allowing your arms to flop. There's so much metaphor here. When you control your arms, you're controlling your reality, you're forcing things, but allowing the arms to actually flop naturally, turning the waist, but pulling in the bum, the hips, whether you're male or female, your hips are your birthing. You birth your ideas. Everything comes from the hips. You root into the ground like a tree. So twist, keeping the bum pulled in and turning from the left and the right, allowing those arms to flop. That massages your internal organs. That actually helps in a little bit, not as much as others, but it helps your diaphragm, which at the moment, COVID-19 is a respiratory illness. So twist the waist is very good. helping the lungs. It keeps the muscles in the spine, so the central nervous system that runs through the spine. Over 90% of your nerves, actually I think it's 95% of your nerves run through your spine. So twist the waist, keeps the spine subtle, keeps your lungs open, keeps everything strong. Another free exercise I give away, or you go to my teachable, so the Dragon Dog Shaman teachable, again, just come and get a 20-minute free one-to-one with me. Hula hoop, hands on the smalls of the back, and you draw a big circle with your waist, and then with your hips you pull in your bum and you stick your bum out. When you go back and pull your bum in, you go forward. This massages especially the hips. Elderly people, you know, fall over more because their central core strength is weakening and their hips are weakening. So this strengthens the hips. It does your core strength. And Qigong and Tai Chi are metaphors. Is that what it does physically? Metaphorically, it affects you everywhere else. So there's lots of metaphors, which I won't bore you with now. But the whole point of a very simple, very playful, very simple exercises. But the whole point of things that are playful is and simple is actually there's more power in them than you realize. You know, going down and spending, you know, a little time in your garden or the park, or, you know, how much better people feel, you know, how much, you know, especially right now when they're all closed indoors and they go out for that hour,
Yeah.
and I feel much better now. And it's like, funny that, you know, but think about it. Why? Because you feel, because all that green energy, the heart energy. The green is the color of the heart chakra and the chakras. So you're letting in all that energy, that love. You're opening up to the space of the world. That's why, in a weird way, for most people, what's happening right now is good for them. You know, I know you're thinking opposite, but my students know that my teacher, one of my Sifus, Shun, was known for his Shun whack. If you ask too many questions, or you weren't practicing enough, he'd whack you. He taught you how to get hit, and then he'd hit you. And the whole idea is that the whack is to go, wake up, look at the situation. Right now, everybody's getting a Shun whack. They're being forced into a situation where they're closed off. They can't do everything they normally do. Everything's shut down, but it's making you see life in a different way. The only other way for it to happen was if everybody was suddenly given a terminal illness and have 24 hours to live. Yeah. And then suddenly everybody would forget everything else, because you would want to, you know, see all your loved ones. You would want to you know, you would want to, you know, enjoy every single moment. So the better version of that is what's happening. We're all being shut down, all being closed off, and we're being forced into a situation where we have to rethink ourselves. Now, naturally, people are panicking, but panicking is just wasted. No offense, guys, but it's just waste of energy. All you're doing is wasting your energy panicking. Find ways to create the solution rather than focusing on the problem.
I agree. And to go back to Mantak Chia, one thing I learned from him and his teachings was about the importance of a smile, and not a facial smile, but a deep inner smile, you know. And I teach a technique that I learned from him. It's called cultivating your inner smile. And when you can actually get hold of this deep smile, you can actually use breathing and direction from your imagination, and you can direct this. It's called smiling through the organs. I know that you know this, but where you send that energy using your imagination and using this positive, caring energy, it actually affects the way that your stem cells work in these organs, you know. And there is stem cell qigong and stuff like that, you know.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's you know, the Neigong, what's called Neigong, which is Taoist yoga, and it's also known as marrow washing as well. And the stem cells, and also then the bone marrow itself. And funny enough, the inner smile with my students in a cup of chi. We've got this great little group called A Cup of Chi. We learn a new exercise every week, and we do a live, well, you know, being partly British, you know, a cup of tea. Let's have a cup of tea. But we do a live exercise, a live class, hour-ish, normally ends up longer, every week, but yeah, the inner smile this month was all about the sacred child. You know, activate qigongs for your sacred child, inner child. Last month was for the shadow work, so qigongs for shadow work. January was qigongs for joints, joint pain, and launching into the new year. And each month we have a different theme. But the whole point is, it's meant to be playful. It's meant to be fun, and you know, we have so much fun. They don't realize how much work they're actually doing in, you know, in that fun. And it's that thing of, that's what I was going to say was, you're like me, Doc, where inside we're real happy bunnies, and then apparently sometimes, maybe it was just my exes, but my exes would say, "You look miserable. Why are you so miserable? Why are you moody? I'm not. I'm happy on the inside." But it's this interesting thing of perception, you know, is that people are looking at something on the outside. Now on the inside you're happy, and it's so we're, you know, which is the truth and which is the lie. You know, their perception is you're unhappy. Doc looks unhappy and miserable, but you don't feel unhappy and miserable. So is how you feel wrong? Well, no, it's your perception. But it's that thing of, is that don't read a book by a cover. You know, is that things are what they are, but you can, you know, there's always inner depth. You know, remember, you know, just because poo exists, you need poo to make beautiful flowers because it turns into manure. So is, you know, a lump of coal with enough pressure becomes a diamond. So, you know, what is dark, what is light, what is good, what is bad. It is whatever you feel it, not say it to be, but feel it to be. And
it's just the process, isn't it? I mean, you talked about it before. Life to me is a process. It's almost as if we programmed ourselves before we came here to go through a certain curriculum, a certain process, to learn, to experience through feelings, right, what it's like for a certain part of the human experience. That's what I feel. You know, when I did my PhD, I did something called heart rate variability analysis. And there's something there called multi-resolution wavelet analysis. And I'm beginning to see how the universe is so clever, because it put me in a situation to understand how very, very subtle quantum mechanics influences the way that our heart works. And then the way that the heart works sends information back to the way our brains work. And really, that gives us our perception of the world. And what I'm beginning to realize now is we can let go of everything and play out more and more, and we will be automatically reset to who we really are, and to stop pretending who we should, you know, who everybody else wanted us to be, you know. And just go back to the inner smile thing is.
I was thinking that.
Okay, no, just to go back to the inner smile, the bone marrow one's important, because when you actually get in touch, you know, with your energy body, for want of a, you know, you start to feel these things. If you're disconnected from your body, then you've got no chance at all of really understand energetics, you know. And I think that's my job. Is I help to plug people back into who they are. They start to feel the energy, which is associated with emotional flow. And to go back to, I do a lot of remedial and deep massage techniques, a bit like acupressure and shiatsu. And one of them is gently pushing on, sometimes with the elbow on some big people. So pushing with the elbow right in the center of their solar plexus, right, and a bit up under their rib at the same time. That releases the diaphragm. So, and sometimes the release, the emotional release is absolutely immense, you know, and huge men just bawl like children. And I encourage them to let that out. And what happens, Sifu, as you know, is when you have this emotional catharsis, there's a peace that passeth all understanding that descends afterwards. And I think that that's what's happening now. I'm encouraging people to allow their emotions to come up and be expressed in a creative way, not in a destructive way, because it's not right. You know, just because you feel somebody's hurt you, it's just not right to fire this at them as these come up, you know. So there's a responsibility with letting go and expressing yourself emotionally, if it's done through the heart first. And I think, you know, I'm going on about this because the heart to me is the moderator, and it's the wisdom keeper, and it will direct the energy where it's needed rather than allowing. So if it goes from the solar plexus to the head, we're in trouble. But if we open the heart and allow the energy to come up from the solar plexus through the heart, then into the head, I think that's a fast track to release.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And this feeling, you know, it's normally taught. Well, different words are used, but within in Taoist art, so in Qigong and Tai Chi, sensitive Shao Shu, the sensitivity drills, pushing hands. You know, it is, my teachers will always say, you know, listen, and you go, yeah, but I'm touching you, but no, listen with the body, listen with the eyes, listen with the hands, you know, and it's and sensitivity, and they would talk about this, you know, is invest in loss, meaning, you know, so in these pushing hands, your aim is not to push your opponent over, it's actually to let them almost push you over, but to find your balance. So the first thing you're learning, the metaphor is finding how to, and that willow tree qigong, that turn the waist, is rooting into the ground, and whatever hits you on you know, whatever hits the body, is that my feet are planted, but you know, almost like the Matrix. You know, I can be being pushed and thing, but you know, I'm just going, you know, it's just all flowing around me. And it's listening, you know, listening to the person you're pushing hands with or doing qigong with is actually a way of listening to yourself, because it's the whole idea is you become softer and softer and softer. And the more you learn to listen, you know, the more you can know, you know, I always said understand, but it's actually understanding from the heart. So it's knowing. And you know, that's the thing. Understanding here, it gets stuck. But when you understand here, you know, you feel it in your heart, you feel it. And this whole thing of like the inner smile is, you know, the quick 30-second version, the golden pill version is think of something that makes you chuckle, but beautiful, you know, like a cat videos or a child chuckling, or, you know, a sunset, things that really make you smile on a nice, gentle, you know, in a natural way. And you allow that to fill your face for a while, and then you draw that into the mind and in the body and down the spine and in the shoulders, and keep refilling it. And like I said, we just did that recently on the cup of chi, and you allow that energy to go through your body, because the ancient, I'm trained as a barefoot doctor, which is one form of Taoist, the dragon dog shaman, which is another. And dragon dog shamans, everything is energy, everything is conscious energy. So all emotions are alive, they're conscious, and therefore you interact with them and you play with them and you understand. Now in shiatsu, which is like the Japanese massage, one of the macrobiotics, which is Japanese Taoism, one of the techniques is that when you relax, when your belly is fully relaxed, because your organs, most people, if they push their belly, they'll find it's quite firm, or there's little lumpy bits, and those little lumpy bits is all that tension that you're storing in your organs. You don't just store tension in your shoulders and your muscles, which is not great as it is, but you also store it in your organs as well. And when it's stored in your organs, that's toxins building up. And what they say in Taoist, in the Japanese macrobiotics, which is Japanese Taoism, is that you should actually, if you're truly healthy, somebody should be able to put their hand on your belly, and as you breathe out, they should be able to push all the way to the back of your spine and feel your spine, because the organs should be soft and gentle like a baby, and you should easily, but most people can't do that because they store all this tension. So the Taoist thing of, when you do certain qigong, especially like twist waist and hula hoop, if you start burping and parping or even bursting into tears, that's considered cha. Now, cha, you know, you can call it negative energy, but really it's what you no longer need. Chi is what you want, you require, and cha is what you no longer need. So a very simple Taoist meditation is breathe in the chi, so you can't breathe in anymore, and then breathe out the cha. Let go of the stress, the worry, the tension, let it all go. And just breathe in the chi and breathe out the cha. And just continue to do that.
And that's what sorry, mate. That's what
No.
I teach people now. Is that, you know, and Tai Chi, in breath, out breath, same again. Breathe in this calm, loving, compassionate, healing, gentle feeling. Collect all the stress and tension, breathe it out, give it back to the universe.
Yeah.
And if we can teach people to bring their breathing rate down to round about 6 breaths per minute, what happens is the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems, instead of fighting with one another, they actually get and join together. Yep. And then we have this curvy linear, you know, like the the infinity symbol, because to me, I don't see any openings. Everything's a cycle within a cycle to me now. And then if you can just let go and allow those universal and heavenly cycles guide you through life, then that's, in my opinion, the way to do it. But we need to let go, absolutely. And this is what the human mind can't handle. How can something be more intelligent than the human mind? And really, if you just look at the way the world is now and the way the systems are falling apart, maybe, Sifu, we haven't had a clue at all whatsoever. And maybe in its infinite wisdom, the universe is showing us, hang on now, just wipe it clean. Let's start again. And this time, listen to your heart of hearts and we'll show you how it's supposed to be done, you know. And I really feel positive. Go on, mate.
I was just going to say, the wisest person is the one that knows how little they really know. You know, and that's the, you know, even in Taoist wisdom, one of the great, for me, one of the great books on Taoism was actually written by a guy called Wim Hof, not Wim Hof, I can't remember who, but the book was the Tao of Winnie the Pooh, the Tao of Pooh, and it was that the cartoon character Pooh was you know, his simple-mindedness was actually flowing with the universe, because you just go with the flow and just, you know, you know, you go with what, you know, you're hungry, you eat, you're tired, you sleep, you know, when you need a pee, you pee, when you need to pop or poo, you do it, and, you know, be like a child and let go of all the complications of life. And when you do that, and you know, like the whole thing of learning, you know, we always learn, but the whole idea is not to grab onto this knowledge like, you know, like you know, items or new pair of sneakers. The whole idea is that knowledge is just there to open you up to more expansion, to open you up. And it's the whole, you know, for me, enlightenment and ascension just means that your awareness expands more. You know, you expand to the next, you see just a little bit further, and you hear a little bit further, and you can feel just a little bit more. And the whole idea is that just keeps going. You just keep going a little bit more. And we said earlier about slowing down, you know, by that process of like going from the forebrain into the back of the mind, step back or lean back, as it's known in Taoism, is when you lean back or you go into the internal cave and your eyes sort of like you see things a little bit further away. It gives you more time to think. It gives you more time to understand. And that's the whole point, you know, like, you know, and everything reflects to everything. So in Qigong, in a martial point of view, if the person's right here, you know, you have very little time to think and to move. But if they're 6 foot away, then you have all the time in the world. You know, you have more and more time. So, and it's the same with the metaphor with everything. Is giving yourself more time to think and feel. And if that means you need to, you know, you speed up in a way to slow down, but it's understanding it in the feeling. It's very much, I'm very much with you. It's very much about feeling. Stop thinking. You're too close to you're too close to the nose. You need to come back to the heart. When you come back to the heart, you allow yourself more time to think. You think through that feeling. You allow yourself more time to observe, which is more important.
Just to pick up 2 points and then it's time to go. My Tai Chi instructor, Cam Lau, he said to me, you know, he explained about the frontal lobe and all that sort of head dominated stuff, you know, and he showed me a technique and he just called it listen behind. listen behind, you know, and that immediately centers you and it takes you backwards, doesn't it? So that's a simple one. And from the Tao point of view, do nothing and all shall be done. And that to me means let go, because the way I've just got a big thing up my spine when I said that then. So let go, open up, and you will attract to you what you need to learn next on this journey of life. And I believe that what we try and do is we get a small bit of it, we close down, and then we try and regulate and control it in the way that our ego wants to go. And I think once we start to learn that the ego's there as a frightened child, it doesn't need to be afraid anymore. We need an ego. It needs to be nurtured, encouraged, and loved rather than be fought against. Because, you know, if you don't want to fight, don't get into the boxing ring, you know. And there's another phrase, you know, for by this time we have been placed in a position of neutrality. And that's where I feel most of the time now. I'm in a sort of neutral, observing, witnessing point of view, and don't need to take any action unless it comes and emerges from deep within me, you know. Yeah. So Sifu,
and that's what Tao is. That's the true Tao. You know, it is the balance. The balance, but the balance is not this stagnant place. It's a flowing thing, but it is this place of neutrality. Because from that, you're neither in the yang of action or yin of total inaction. You're flowing in the void of between the two. And it's that you know, if you need to move, you move. If you stay still, you will stay still. But you flow with it. You go with the flow, and that comes from the heart. That comes from the center. But
go with the flow, grow with the flow, and eventually glow with the flow. And you certainly glow, mate. I love the bones of you. We'll have one of our Doc and Sifu sessions in a few weeks' time, hopefully. And thanks very much for coming on the show. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, give us a quick link.
You can either message me personally, or you can go to www.sifuboggie.com, or just go to the Way of Conscious Mindfulness, and we'll have a chat.
Thanks very much. Hopefully see you soon. Take care.
Bye for now.
And thank you, everybody. See you soon.